Men are geniuses.
Oh, is he?
Men are geniuses.
Okay.
You know, we've been accused of not wanting to stop and take directions for where we're going, but that's part of the whole divine plan. You know, when I was at Harvest in Kansas, I love the way, really I like the way I'm used to it, I guess is why, but the west and farmland set up. Farmland set up so the roads go east and west and north and south. And they're separated in mile markers, okay? Like one road going north on an east and west road, there's a mile before the next road, okay? That's how they plot out land when the land rush and stuff. That's how it's set up. So you know where you're at pretty much. Well, around Wichita, Kansas, there's a bunch of wheat farmers. And so during harvest, outside of Wichita, you know, if you're taking a load of grain to the elevator, if you start driving and you hit corn, you know you've gone too far north. If you start driving and you hit soybeans, you know you've gone too far south because they need more water. If you start driving and you go and you hit sunflowers, you know you've gone too far west. And if you start driving and you hit trees, you know you've gone too far east. Well, usually you'll hit the elevator before one of those things happen, but one of the greatest men that ever lived was Chief Justice, the Honorable Oliver Wendell Holmes. You ever remember him? Well, you probably hadn't thought about him for a long time, but this is a true story about what happened to him. He would take a train pretty much to wherever he went. And one morning he was on the train and the conductor came by to get the tickets like he usually does, and come to Mr. Holmes, and Mr. Holmes fidgeting around, can't find his ticket. And the conductor says, "Can't you find your ticket, Mr. Holmes?" He says, "No, I can't find it right now." And he said, "Well, don't worry about it, Mr. Holmes. No, you come here every day. We trust you. You're Chief Justice on the Supreme Court. We're not going to worry about it." And so the train makes a few more stops, and the conductor comes back through, and Mr. Holmes is pretty frantic. And he's sitting there thinking, "Why can't I find my ticket?" And the conductor sits down beside him because he can see, he just can't be consoled. He says, "Mr. Holmes, really, it's no big deal. You don't have to have your ticket. Just make it up the next time you come in or something." And he says, "My good man, that's not the problem. The problem is I need my ticket so I can know where to go." True story, believe it or not.
Sure.
It was. Anyway, let's start saying some truth together. I am a child of God. I am deserving of good in my life. I am accepting my good now. Excuse me. Okay. Well, today the lesson is about discipline, disciple. That's the title, The Road of Life. And I don't know about you, but when I was a kid, there was a time when you had to be at home at night. And most of the parents that I've known, and being a parent myself, I don't like disciplining my kids, but sometimes it's necessary. Most of the parents I know try to teach their kids right from wrong, good from bad, what to eat, what not to eat, who to hang out with and who not to hang out with, what time to be home in bed and what time to be appropriate out playing. Well, at my house, it was time to be home was with the porch light. When the porch light came on, you knew you better be at home, or better be getting home. And so no matter where I was in the neighborhood, I know when the porch light came on that I needed to come home, because that was the signal. That was the signal for all of us. I had a brother and a sister. I still have a brother and a sister. No matter where I was, though, I needed to be home pretty quick. If I didn't get home in a reasonable amount of time, I would suffer the consequences. Usually that was a spanking. So I would get home fairly quick, because I didn't want that to happen to you. You probably had something similar in your house, maybe not a spanking as a consequence, but something similar that you were taught that you had to get home at a certain time or had to do something a certain way by your parents. In today's times, though, that could be something different, like something that you really like being taken away instead of a spanking, or an earlier curfew, but something other than the corporal punishment that many of us received when we were young and it wasn't frowned upon. When I was growing up, corporal punishment was still even okay in schools. I'm sure some of you remember that. In fact, there was a difference between
The main difference between the principal and the vice principal was that, exactly that. If you were called to the principal's office, then you knew it was something serious, but you knew that there probably wasn't going to include the threat of a spanking. If you're called to the vice principal's office, though, you probably knew that it was going to be a spanking, and so you tried to get your story straight before you got to the office. Being disciplined has always been a part of the road of life, whether being disciplined by someone that you know, or by the streets, or by life itself. And when we are disciplined, it is always because we have not abided by some rules or principles of life. The biggest problem with that is not the rules or the principles themselves, it is how they have been presented and how we have chosen to take them. Each of us has a choice of how we interpret what has been said. When we write something with correct punctuation, then the meaning can be more clearly understood. But sometimes the inflection in our voice when we're verbally telling someone something does not convey the intended meaning. Here are a couple of examples in writing. You will be required to work 24-hour shifts. You will be required to work 24-hour shifts. Or, you will be required to work 24-hour shifts. All the same words with different punctuation. And then, why I used that joke at first is because I knew that the women would love this, because this is the most famous one. A woman without her man is nothing. A woman without her man is nothing. A woman without her man is nothing. Oh, I knew you'd like that. I think between the first one, even the first two and the last one, is a severe difference in what is being said there. But it's the same words, isn't it? But we have to choose how we receive those words also. It's a two-way street. So how are we receiving the messages that life is offering us? If we come to the knowing that God is good and only good, then we don't have to get hung up on the negative connotation that someone makes when they make a statement to us. And even if the person making the statement means something negative by the words they are saying, realize that it is their problem, that they are uncomfortable with something, and it doesn't have to be yours. If you're a parent, then I know that you have experienced a time when you have had to discipline your child. Not because you wanted to, but because the child needed to be redirected at the time. Now that child had a choice of whether to take it, what was happening, and see that it is from a parent either being mean and not caring about the feelings that the child had, or the child can take it for what it is. A parent who loves you dearly and does not want to see you suffer for not living in principle. The one thing that all loving parents want for their children is to have a better life than they've had. And in order to do that, they cannot make the same mistakes that the parent did. So when a parent sees his or her child making a mistake, especially one that the parent is all too familiar with, then the child is disciplined. After we have disciplined our children, we hope that they will learn discipline from that and not need to learn it again, thus enjoying the reward of such discipline. Discipline is simply a way of living that works in conjunction with the rules or laws of the universe. From Merriam-Webster, you can see the definition. Discipline is a way of behaving that shows a willingness to obey rules and orders. A willingness. That means we have a choice. We can choose to follow the rules, both man-made and or God-made, but there's a difference between those two sets of rules, aren't there? And the consequences that occur when we follow them or not follow them, either way, when we are disciplined by them. The man-made set of rules or laws are something that we have put together as a society to create a society that can live together under generally agreed to set of parameters. These laws can be changed, and in fact should be changed as we grow as a society in our consciousness and awareness of the God-made laws. For instance, and I was going to look this up and I did. Almost every city that's been around for a long time in the United States has a law on the books that says you can't spit on the sidewalks. Well, that law was there, of course, because back when the law was made, there was a bunch of people chewing tobacco, and they're spitting it on the sidewalk. Well, people got tired of stepping in that stuff. And so they decided, let's make a law to stop that. And so anytime people would do that, they'd get a fine or even be arrested. But now, there are not as many people chewing tobacco, and most of them won't even spit on the sidewalk. Not all of them, but most of them. Because they know it's not courteous. It's not what the nice thing to do would be. So they don't do it. However, the law remains on the books in many of these cities that put it on there. We should remove the law, but instead we just know it isn't right. So no one does it, and even if someone does slip up and spit on the sidewalk, usually, not always, but usually the person will just be asked to clean it up instead of being fined or jailed. So we discipline ourselves of the laws of man so we won't be in trouble with law enforcement officers. God's laws, though, are different. And for the most part, we have broken them at some point and probably are breaking them now. All of you have heard of the Dave Ramsey, and all of you that are in the Dave Ramsey class right now knows that he says many times in his Financial Peace University that the numbers in our financial part of life is not the problem. Behavior is the problem. The problem people have with their finances is the person that they see in the mirror. And our behavior is a discipline we demonstrate of God's laws. When we spend money that we don't have, what happens? Well, for most people, they have to borrow the money. Borrowed money is not free money. Borrowed money is the money that cost us more than the amount that we are borrowing. It's called interest. And isn't interest interesting? If we do not abide by or have discipline with money, then the money we earn is worth less because we are having to pay interest on what we have borrowed. I don't know how many of you remember well, it turned into a country song, but it started out as actually a story before that, but working for the company store. You remember that? Some people do, some people don't. Working for the company store. And it was kind of a country song, but it was always kind of a droney song. And there's a reason for all of that, because it was not a good song. The story that led up to that song was not a good story. The story was, if you don't remember, is that many people, a long time ago, just a few generations ago, would work for, there was a town actually that might have been built specifically for a company. And the company, everybody in town would work for the company. Well, if somebody would be working along, or even if it was their first week there or something, they'd be working before the paycheck came, said they needed some money for food, whatever necessities they needed to buy. So there was something like a draw, that they, at least that's what they call it that I know about, a draw or a pull on their wages. And so the company would write down, I'm going to give you so much credit for this, and I'll pull it out of your check at the next pay period. And so many people would do this. Well, after time and time of doing that, it got bigger and bigger needs, and it got less and less on the paycheck when they actually got a paycheck. And soon, not too many people, but some of them were drawing more than they were getting paid. And so they were working essentially for nothing. Well, of course, that would, as you can imagine, would draw a lot of animosity and distrust between both the company against the employees and the employees against the company. When we place ourselves in a bad financial situation, we short ourselves from the unlimited finances of God. I don't know if you know, but God does not have a checkbook that He needs to balance. Did you ever think about that? He doesn't have a checkbook He needs to balance. Why is that? Because God has unlimited funds in His checkbook. And the reason He has unlimited funds in it is just like the lender here on earth, who only loans money to those people who are capable of paying it back. God only allows those who have discipline around the tool of money to have more of it. Let me say that again, because I want you to hear that. God only allows those who have discipline around the tool of money to have more of it. Just like the company would not allow you to pay or get more than what you're going to get paid. God doesn't allow us more than we can handle. You've heard of all the lottery winners. Well, most of them, high 90% percentage of people who win the lottery go broke. I mean, that's enough money, if you win the lottery, to last the rest of your life. Why is it that they go broke? It's because they were broken consciousness before they won the lottery. I use money because money is the Western, for some people, Western God. So we have to ask ourselves, though, what priorities do we have around our money? Take time to review your bank statement and see what you have spent your money on. Is 10% going to the place that you are spiritually fed? The place that you can come to and receive enlightenment? Put up the next slide, because this is what everybody's thinking right now. Uh-oh. Now he's going to get into tithing talk, just when I thought I could trust him. Every church I go to has to talk about money. Give, 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 give. All I want to do is get a lift for the week and enjoy my time in fellowship here at church. Let's see, what I'm talking about is not a discipline for just a week. What I'm talking about is forming a discipline for a lifetime. We have to be disciplined. We have to have discipline in our finances. Make a list when you get home. Make a list of the 10 most important places that you would like your money to go. Then look at your bank statement and see what the 10 most important things that you're spending your money on. If those are not in alignment, then you do have to discipline yourself around your finances. So what is disciplined? What does it have to do with growing up and experiencing, what did I say there? I can't read. So why does being disciplined when we are growing up and exhibiting discipline in our lives as adults have to do with spirituality? Because this isn't a tithing talk. The answer is because we are all re-becoming disciples. If you notice, all three of these words come from disciple. In order to become a disciple, we have to have discipline in our lives, in every area. Have you ever thought about what the difference between a disciple and an apostle are? I bet some of you have. You probably even looked it up. When my parents got divorced, I was still in high school, and that is when I moved from Texas to Kansas. And it was quite a change for me. And in that time of change was, of course, I was raised in Unity, and my mom brought us up to Kansas. Her family was up in Kansas. So when we come up to Kansas, it was quite a change for me. And I met this guy, so I was in flux, you know, and I met this guy named Johnny Arnell. He was a great guy. He still is a great guy, I'm sure. He was a minister in an apostolic faith church. An apostolic faith church. And I loved him. I liked the church at the time. You know, I liked, it was, if you guys have been to an apostolic church, you know, it's quite different than Unity. A little bit different, let me say that. No, it's a lot different. And so it was all about saving and everything, and it was good for me at the time. And the friendship was good for me at the time. He was a father figure, that I needed at that time. Yet, when I decided to go back to Unity, that friendship kind of dissolved. And it wasn't because I didn't need it or didn't want it anymore. It was because I wasn't doing exactly what he thought I should do anymore. Which was a shame, because it could have still been a great friendship. But that is, in a way, the difference between what apostle is and disciple is. Because an apostle, yeah, I put that up there. An apostle is anyone that is chosen to spread the Christian religion. But a disciple is someone who accepts and helps to spread the teachings of a famous person. There's a choice in discipleship. Just like we can go out and blow our money and borrow as much as we can until we're cut off. That's a choice. Or we have the choice to be disciplined, have discipline in our life, finances and everything, and enjoy the rewards for that. God has given us the choice to follow the guidance that we receive and abide in the kingdom of heaven right here and right now. Or to follow some guidance that is in the physical plane that leads us to only physical results. As a disciple, we are choosing to have discipline in our life. We are choosing God's results for us as we make decisions in our life. And since we know God is only good, then we know God's results from guidance will be only good. We are learning more about the truth of our being by bringing into our daily awareness the blessings that are right here in front of us in this moment right now. I am so thankful this morning. Francie said about my being a Popeye. For the 2 days before this, it felt like something was in my eye and it's extreme pain. This morning, it just looks bad, and I don't really care.
Yeah.
Because it isn't extreme pain like it has been. So I'm so thankful for this moment not having that happen. In Unity, we have forever, as long as I can remember, called ourselves truth students. Realizing that we don't know all the truth right here, right now, in this world that we live in, while we strongly stand in the truth that we do know, and being open at the same time to a greater awareness being revealed to us. As we go forth this week, let us exhibit more of the discipline that we have in our life. Let us be open to more of the blessings God and the universe has for each of us. Let us realize the unlimited flow of God that is in the universe by taking the time to just stop and be in the moment that is now. With this, we will all benefit and know that God is blessing us now. Thank you for being here.
To everything, turn, turn, turn. There is a season, turn, turn, turn. In a time for every purpose under heaven. A time to be born, a time to die, a time to plant, a time to reap, a time to kill, time to heal, a time to laugh, a time to weep. To everything, everybody turn, turn, turn. There is a season in a time for every purpose under heaven. A time to build up, a time to break down, a time to dance, a time to mourn, stones, a time to gather stones together. To everything there is a season and a time for every purpose under heaven. A time of love, a time of hate, a time of war, a time of peace, a time you may embrace, a time to refrain from embracing. To everything turn, turn, turn. There is a season, turn, turn, turn. And a time for every purpose under heaven. A time to gain, a time to lose, a time to win, a time to sow, a time to love, a time to hate, a time for peace. I swear it's not too late. Thank you. Thank you all for singing.